My name is Baer. I was born in France. In the 90s, I've been working in Africa, Congo, and also for 8 years in the United Nations on issues related to carrying capacity, what we call now sustainability or impact. And I realized that the factor that will allow us to divide the impact of our production and consumption patterns over our environment will be in the hands of technology. When I came back to live in Israel a few years ago, in Tel Aviv, in the heart of the startup nation, I realized that my main role will be to match and to bridge between the Israeli ecosystem and the potential players that could bind technological partnerships, commercial and strategic alliances with the Israeli startups. Today, iKare Innovation works, for example, for Engie, whose target is by 2030 to be a full renewable company. So we are talking about one of the biggest players in utilities and energy production and distribution, saying that they will move full renewable. We also work for Valeo, which is a tier one, a provider of resources to the car manufacturers, which integrates today a lot of the Israeli technologies that we sourced for them. As per what we call the technological transfers, Israel became, over the years, the number 2 in technology transfer right after the US in terms of yearly revenues. How do they do that? Actually, they use what we call the TTO, Tech Transfer Offices, which are based in universities, in hospitals, and in other institutions that produce research and intellectual property. And they help the researchers to understand the needs of the market. They first grab their hand on the results of the research before publication. Then they convince the rest of the team at the administration and in the laboratory not to publish and to actually register patents, even if it's pending patents, until they found the real market for the patent. It can take a year, it can take 10 years. Then they help with the negotiation with the private sector, and they generate revenues that are sometimes 20% of the budget of the university. Aside that, the team is allowed to have its part in the success. Usually it's between 30 and 40% of the total revenues that go to the team. It can be the director of the lab and the dean and the chief, but also the student, the PhD, and all the people that were duly involved in the research. So they are sharing the profits. I will only mention an exception to this rule of the 60-40, which is the Israeli army. And very little people know that all the intellectual property that is potentially produced by the soldiers during their mandatory service at the army is actually belonging to the soldiers. The army is not taking the IP for itself, and it's giving it to the soldier in order to transfer this IP into the society back. The idea is to have the soldier look for partners and establish his startup based on the IP he developed during the service, the military service. So my wish as iKare Innovation CEO is to help as many players as possible from both sides, startups to find investors and commercial partners, and companies from abroad to understand how to address the Israeli ecosystem. So you have to come by yourself and see, but you also have to find the cultural bridges in order to understand who are and where are the most interesting partners and IP that you are looking for.